Last night, after I sat there with no words, I thought maybe this was how it ends. Not with a scream, not with a breakdown, but with silence. I kept staring at his photograph. His eyes in that picture still looked the same, soft, tired, like a man who carried too much but never complained. I reached out and touched the corner of the frame with my finger. It was cold. The glass was cold. And for a moment, I felt jealous of it, because the glass still got to touch his face, and I didn't. I know how foolish that sounds, but grief makes you foolish. It makes you miss things you never thought you would miss. The sound of him clearing his throat, the way he used to tie his shoes slowly, the way he would look at me when I was speaking as if my words were important. I swallowed hard. My throat felt tight. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. It was like my voice had locked itself inside me, and suddenly I felt afraid. Not of death, not of ghosts, not of the dark. I felt afraid of a life where I no longer talked to him. Because if I stop talking to him, then what do I do with all this love? Where does it go? People think love is something you feel and then forget, but love is also something you carry, and I have been carrying him for 20 years. I sat there, breathing slowly. Then I whispered, "I'm sorry." I don't even know why I said it. I think I said it because I felt like I had failed him, like I was letting him down, like my silence was a kind of betrayal. And that's when it happened. The tears came. Not like the tears you cry when someone dies. Those tears are loud. Those tears are hot. Those tears come with people around you, handing you tissues, telling you to be strong. These tears were different. They were quiet. They were slow. They slid down my face as if they had been waiting behind my eyes for years. I covered my mouth with my hand because I didn't want the house to hear me. The house has heard too much already. The walls have listened to my grief for so long that I sometimes wonder if they are tired of me. I cried until my chest started to ache, and I hated myself for it, because I told myself I was past this. I told myself I had accepted it. I told myself I was strong, but the truth is, I am only strong because I have no choice. Strength is not always brave. Sometimes strength is just survival. I wiped my face with the sleeve of my nightgown. I looked at his photograph again, and I said, "Do you remember?" My voice broke. I had to stop. I took a breath. Then I tried again. "Do you remember the first winter in this house?" And suddenly, the words came. Not fast, not smoothly, but they came, like water dripping from a tap that hasn't been used in a long time. I told him about that winter, how the roof leaked, how we didn't have enough money to fix it, and how he joked that we were living under a small rain cloud. I told him how I laughed that night, even though I was scared, because laughter felt like warmth, and he always knew how to warm me up. I looked down at my hands. They're older now. The skin is thinner. The veins are more visible. My fingers are not as quick as they used to be. and I whispered, "My hands don't look the same anymore." Then I laughed softly through tears. I used to think my hands were ugly. I used to hide them, but you held them like they were precious. My throat tightened again, and I cried because I remembered something so small yet so painful. He used to kiss my hands, not in a dramatic way.
Then I turned off the lamp, and as I lay down in the darkness, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. I felt like he was still beside me, not as a body, not as a ghost, but as the love that shaped my entire life. And just when I started to drift off, a memory came, a memory I hadn't thought about in years. A memory so sharp it made my eyes open again. It was the night he left me a letter I never read, a letter I hid, a letter I was too afraid to open. And suddenly, my heart started beating fast, because I knew tonight might be the night I finally read it. But the moment I reached for that hidden letter, my hands started shaking, because I wasn't sure what would hurt more, reading his last words, or realizing I had wasted 20 years being afraid of them.
My hands were shaking so badly that I had to hold my wrist with the other hand. I sat there in the dark, staring at the drawer beside my bed. That drawer has been opened 1,000 times, for socks, for medicine, for old receipts I should have thrown away years ago. But there is one thing inside it that I almost never touch. The letter. His letter. The last one. The one he asked me to read after he was gone. I remember that day too clearly. It was in the hospital. He was tired, so tired that even his eyelids looked heavy. But he still tried to smile at me. He still tried to be my husband, even while death was sitting quietly beside him. He reached for my hand, and in his palm was an envelope, old, slightly wrinkled, like he had held it for days. He whispered, "Read it later." I frowned. "Why later?" I asked. He looked away for a moment. Then he looked back at me, and he said, "Because if you read it now, you'll cry." His voice was so gentle, and I remember thinking, how does a man who is dying still worry about my tears? I wanted to tell him I would cry anyway, but I didn't. I took the envelope, I held it like it was fragile, and he said, "Promise me." I didn't ask what, I just nodded, because when someone is leaving you forever, you promise anything. I promised, and then he was gone, and the letter stayed. After the funeral, when everyone left, I found it again. It was in my bag. It felt heavier than it should have, like paper carrying the weight of a whole life. I sat on this same bed, the same place, the same lamp, and I stared at it. I remember my fingers on the edge of the envelope. I remember the sound of it when I moved it, a soft scratch like dry leaves. I wanted to open it, I truly did, but my heart was already shattered, and I thought, if I read his last words, it will make it real. If I read his goodbye, then it's final, and I wasn't ready for final. So I put it away. I told myself I would read it when I was stronger. I told myself I would read it when I could breathe without him.
I told myself I would read it when I stopped crying. But days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, months turned into years, and I never read it. Sometimes I forgot it existed, and sometimes I remembered it and felt sick because I was afraid of what he wrote, afraid of what I might feel, afraid he said something I didn't deserve, afraid he asked me for something I couldn't do, afraid.
Like it was my real name, I covered my mouth and sobbed. I didn't want to make noise, but grief doesn't always ask permission. I felt like a child again, a young girl who didn't know how to lose. I rocked slightly. I held the letter to my face, and I cried into it. I cried like the past 20 years were sitting on my shoulders. I cried like my heart had been holding its breath all this time. When I finally calmed down, I read the next line. If you are reading this, it means I am gone. My stomach turned, even though I already knew, even though I buried him, even though I lived 20 years without him. Seeing it written in his hand made it fresh again, made it new, made it sharp. I whispered, "Don't say that," as if he could hear me, as if my whisper could change ink. I took a breath and kept reading. I wanted to write this while I still had time, because there are things I never said properly. I paused. I looked at his photograph, and I said, "What didn't you say?" My voice was trembling. "Tell me." I read again. "I know you will be strong, but I also know you will be lonely." That line broke me because he knew. He knew. He knew exactly what would happen to me. He knew the house would feel too big. He knew the nights would be long. He knew the bed would be wrong. He knew, and he wrote it anyway. I cried again, softly this time, quiet tears, the kind that fall slowly. I whispered, "You were right." Then I read the next line. "I'm sorry I'm leaving you with so much." My chest tightened because I had never thought of it like that. I always thought he left because he had no choice, but in his heart, he felt like he was leaving me with a burden. Like it was my real name, I covered my mouth and sobbed. I didn't want to make noise, but grief doesn't always ask permission. I felt like a child again, a young girl who didn't know how to lose. I rocked slightly. I held the letter to my face, and I cried into it. I cried like the past 20 years were sitting on my shoulders. I cried like my heart had been holding its breath all this time. When I finally calmed down, I read the next line. If you are reading this, it means I am gone. My stomach turned, even though I already knew, even though I buried him, even though I lived 20 years without him. Seeing it written in his hand made it fresh again, made it new, made it sharp. I whispered,
His love was not selfish. His love was not afraid. He didn't ask me to stop loving him. He asked me to keep living. And somehow that hurt more because it meant he truly loved me. The letter continued, "I don't want you to turn our love into a grave you sit beside every night." My lips trembled because that's exactly what I had done. I looked at his photograph and I whispered, "I'm sorry." Again, the letter said, "I want you to laugh again, even if it feels wrong. I want you to eat warm food. I want you to sleep without guilt. I want you to talk to me if you need to, but I don't want you to disappear into me." I couldn't breathe. I pressed my hand to my chest. I cried so hard I had to stop reading. My tears fell on the paper. I wiped them quickly, panicking. Oh no, oh no. I didn't want to ruin it. I didn't want his last words to blur. I dabbed the page gently with my sleeve. Then I held it close again. I whispered, "You were so good to me, and I still failed you." I looked at the rest of the letter. There was more, so much more. The page was full, and my heart started beating fast again because I realized something. This letter wasn't just a goodbye, it was a mirror, and I wasn't sure I was ready to see myself in it. I folded it slightly and held it in my lap. I stared at the ceiling, and I whispered, "I can't read the rest tonight." Not because I didn't want to, but because I wanted to survive it. Some truths. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because of nightmares, not because of fear, but because of that ring, his wedding ring. Just the thought of it made my stomach tighten. It's strange how a small circle of metal can hold so much weight. It's smaller than a coin. It doesn't sparkle anymore. It isn't special to anyone else, but to me, it's the shape of a promise I kept even when he couldn't, a promise I kept alone. In the morning, I made tea. I held the warm cup in my hands, trying to steady myself. My eyes were still swollen from crying. My cheeks felt dry and tight, like my face had forgotten how to be calm. I stood by the window for a long time. Outside, the world was doing what it always does. People walking, cars passing, a bird landing on the wire, life moving forward like it had never lost anyone. And I remember thinking, how unfair that the world keeps going when your world ends. I took a sip of tea. It tasted bitter, not because I made it wrong, but because my mouth was still full of yesterday, full of his handwriting, full of that letter, full of the way he said, "Live, live." Such a simple word, and yet it felt like the hardest thing he ever asked of me. The day moved slowly. I cleaned the kitchen. I washed the cups. I folded a blanket. I did small things, the way lonely people do, just to make time feel less empty. But all day my mind kept going back to that drawer, the drawer I never opened, the drawer where I hid his ring. I remember the day I put it there, after the funeral, after everyone left, after the house became mine alone. I sat on the floor of the bedroom, my back against the bed, his clothes still hanging in the cupboard, his slippers still by the door, his scent still in the air, faint but real, and I held the ring in my palm. It was cold, so cold, like it had already forgotten the warmth of his skin. I stared at it for a long time, and I remember whispering, "How can something so small hurt so much?" I wanted to throw it. I wanted to hide it. I wanted to swallow it just to keep it inside me. But instead, I put it in the drawer, and I told myself, I will never touch this again, because if I touch it, I will collapse, and I couldn't afford to collapse. I had children. I had responsibilities. I had a life that didn't care if I was broken. So I became a woman who didn't open that drawer. I became a woman who kept her grief locked away like a dangerous animal. But last night, after reading that letter, I realized something. I had been living around my pain, not through it. I had been walking beside my grief like a stranger, talking to him every night, but never touching the things that made him real, never holding the pieces that proved he existed, because I was afraid that if I faced him properly, I would fall apart, and maybe I needed to fall apart. That evening, the sun set slowly. The room turned gold for a moment, then gray, then dark. The same lamp, the same bed, the same photograph, and me, always me. I sat down,
A thought so sharp it made me stop crying for a moment. What if I didn't take care of him? What if I failed him? What if I didn't love him the way he deserved? My eyes filled again. I looked at his photograph, and I whispered, "Was I a good wife?" My voice sounded small, like a child asking for reassurance. I waited. Of course, there was no answer, only silence and my own heartbeat. I laughed bitterly through tears. Listen to me. 20 years and I still need you to tell me I was enough. I wiped my face. I held the ring up to the light, and I saw something inside it, a small engraving. I had forgotten about it. It was faint now, but still there. A date, our wedding date, and beneath it, 2 words, "Always yours." My breath caught. I stared at it. Always yours. My hand started shaking again, because that wasn't just romance. That was a vow he carried even while dying, even while leaving. Always yours. I pressed the ring to my forehead, and I cried again. I cried because I missed him. I cried because I loved him. I cried because I was still here, and he wasn't. Then I did something I hadn't done in 20 years. I slid the ring onto my own finger. It didn't fit the way it used to. My fingers were thicker now. My joints were larger. The ring stopped halfway. I tried gently. It wouldn't go. And for some reason, that broke my heart even more, because it felt like proof that time had moved, proof that my body changed, proof that life went on without him. I stared at my finger and whispered, "Even my hands don't remember." And then I laughed through tears again, not because it was funny, but because grief is sometimes so absurd it becomes unbearable. I took the ring off. I held it again, and I said, "I'm sorry." There it was again, that apology.
I always apologize, as if love is something I didn't do perfectly enough. I looked at the ring and I whispered, "I'm still yours." All the way to the end. I stood up slowly, holding the ring in my palm like it might slip away. My knees complained, as they always do now. Age has a way of reminding you that you are still here, even when you don't feel like you belong here anymore. I walked to the cupboard. That cupboard has been in this room longer than my wrinkles. Its door sticks slightly. The wood is old. And when you open it, it smells like dust and time. My hand hovered over the handle, and I hesitated because I knew that once I opened it, I couldn't unsee what was inside. Some things in life are like that. A door, a letter, a box. You think you're safe as long as it stays closed, but you're not safe. You're just delaying pain. I opened the cupboard. Inside there were folded blankets, old bed sheets, a small suitcase I haven't used in years, and behind them, the tin box. It was exactly where I left it. A small metal box, dull and scratched, the kind of box you might find in a kitchen filled with biscuits. But this one didn't hold biscuits. It held pieces of my life, pieces I couldn't swallow. I pulled it out carefully. It made a soft clinking sound against the shelf. My heart started beating fast. I sat back down on the bed with the box in my lap. The ring was still in my hand, so now I was holding both, a ring and a box. Two small things that somehow carried the weight of 20 years. I stared at the lid. There was a small latch, nothing fancy, just metal. But my fingers wouldn't move. I was afraid, not of what was inside, but of what it would do to me, because grief is not always sadness. Sometimes grief is a storm. Sometimes it destroys the version of you that you work so hard to build. I had built a version of myself that survived, a version that woke up, a version that cooked, a version that smiled politely, a version that spoke to him at night and pretended that was enough. But what if what was inside this box reminded me of the woman I used to be? The woman who loved him with her whole body, the woman who had dreams, the woman who still expected the future to be kind. My throat tightened. I whispered, "I don't know if I can do this." I looked at his photograph. His eyes looked calm, the same calm I fell in love with, and I suddenly felt angry, not at him, at life, at fate, at whatever cruel hand decided that love should be punished with loss. I swallowed hard. Then I opened the latch. The lid lifted slowly, and inside there were things, not one thing, many, neatly arranged, as if someone packed them carefully, as if someone knew one day I would open this and fall apart. The first thing I saw was a small bundle tied with string. Letters, more letters, not just one, a whole bundle. My breath caught, my fingers trembled. I picked them up. There were envelopes with my name, some with dates, some without. My name written again and again in his handwriting. And suddenly I couldn't breathe. It felt like my chest collapsed inward. I held the bundle to my face and I started crying immediately. I cried because I didn't know these existed. I cried because he wrote so much. I cried because he left
My age, my condition, a condition I had forgotten, a condition I never spoke about, a condition that happened years ago after our second child. I remembered it suddenly like a flash. I had gotten sick, very sick. I had fainted. I had been in the hospital for a few days, but I survived. I came home and life moved on. I hadn't thought about it in years, but he did. He kept it. He kept a record of the day he almost lost me. My throat tightened, and I whispered, "You were scared. You were scared of losing me, too." I cried softly, because for so long I thought I was the only one who feared loss. I thought he was strong, unshakable. But this box showed me something different. It showed me a man who loved me so deeply that he collected pieces of our life like they were treasures, like he was preparing for something, preparing for the day he wouldn't be here. My stomach turned because suddenly I realized something. This box wasn't just memories. This box was planning. He planned this. He prepared these things. He knew he might leave, and he wanted to leave me something to hold, something to read, something to feel. I stared at the bundle of letters again, and my heart started beating fast because I understood that first letter I read, it wasn't the only one. There were many, and I had wasted 20 years not reading them. I covered my mouth with my hand, and I sobbed. Not loud, but deep, the kind of sob that comes from regret, from lost time, from fear, from love. I whispered, "I'm sorry," again, always sorry. I looked at his photograph and I said, "Why did you leave me all this?" My voice cracked. "Did you know I would need it?" I reached into the box again. There was one more thing at the bottom, a small velvet pouch, different from the ring pouch. This one was darker. My fingers froze because I suddenly felt afraid again. I didn't know what was inside, but my body knew something was coming. I picked it up. It was heavier than it looked. I held it in my palm, my heart pounding, and I whispered, "What is this?" I opened it, and inside was a key, a small old key. My breath caught. A key, not a ring, not a letter, a key. And attached to it was a tiny tag with his handwriting, 2 words, "For you." I stared at it, my mouth. The phone rang again, and again, and again. I stared at it like it was a snake, like it might bite me if I touched it. My hands were still shaking from the key, from the letters, from the watch, from everything. The name on the screen didn't feel real because it was a name that belonged to the past, a name I had buried in my mind the same way I buried my husband. And for a moment, I didn't answer. I just listened to the ringing because I was afraid of what that voice might bring back, afraid of what I might hear. But then the ringing stopped and the silence returned, and somehow that silence felt worse. So when the phone rang again a few seconds later,
I picked it up. My voice came out weak. Hello? There was a pause, a long pause. Then a man's voice.
Like a secret. Is it really you? My stomach turned. I swallowed. Yes. Another pause. Then he said, "It's me." I didn't need him to say his full name, because I already knew. I remembered his face, his laugh, the way he used to stand too close, the way my husband's eyes would harden when he was around. This was my husband's old friend. No, not friend. Something else. Something complicated. Someone my husband trusted once, and then stopped trusting. Someone I hadn't seen in 15 years. My throat went dry. I whispered, "Why are you calling?" He exhaled, like he'd been holding his breath for years. "I heard you've been talking to him." My blood ran cold. I pulled the phone away from my ear for a second, like I misheard. Then I put it back. "How do you know that?" He chuckled softly, not in a cruel way, in a sad way, like a man who knows too much. He said, "Because he told me you would." My chest tightened. I sat down on the bed. The key was still beside me. The letters were still there. And suddenly, it felt like the room had shrunk. Like the walls were listening. I whispered, You spoke to him?" The man's voice became quiet. "Yes. I spoke to him, in the last year." My heart started pounding. Because my husband never told me that. He never told me he met this man again. He never told me they spoke. He never told me anything. And that's when something sharp rose inside me. A pain mixed with anger. I said, "Why are you calling me now?" There was another pause. Then he said something that made my skin go cold. "I think you're about to open something that should have stayed closed." My hand gripped the phone. "What do you mean?" His voice dropped lower. "That key." I froze. I couldn't breathe. "How do you know about the key?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he said softly, "He didn't want you to find it too soon." My throat tightened, and for the first time in years, I felt like a child again. A child being told there's something behind a door, and you are not allowed to look. I whispered, "Tell me." My voice shook. "Tell me what you know." He sighed. Then he said, "I can't say it on the phone." I almost laughed. A bitter laugh. "Why not? What is this? A crime?" He didn't laugh back. He said, "Maybe." That word hit me like a slap. Maybe. Maybe. My heart started racing. I whispered, "Are you saying my husband?" He interrupted me quickly. "No. No, no, no." His voice became urgent. "Not like that. He was a good man. The best man I ever knew." Then he paused, and he added, "But even good men carry secrets." My eyes filled with tears. Not because I was sad, because I was terrified. Because the man I loved more than my own life might have had a life I never saw, and I didn't know if I could survive that. I swallowed hard. "What do you want?" He said, "I want to meet you." I stiffened. "Meet me?" He said, "Tomorrow." At the train station. My body went still. The train station. The locker. The key. My husband's joke. It wasn't a joke. My mouth opened, but no words came. The man continued, I know what's in that locker, and if you go alone, you'll break. I whispered, why would I trust you? He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made my eyes burn. Because I'm the reason he made that locker in the first place. My throat tightened. I felt dizzy. I pressed my free hand to my chest. I don't understand. His voice softened. You will. Just, please, don't go alone. Then he gave me a time, a place, and before I could ask anything else, he said, I'm sorry, and he hung up. I stared at the phone.